Hello, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? So we're gonna formally start. Hello, I'm Kamolino, one of the board members at Purple My Up, and I'm proud to be the co-host today along with Kaneohe. So we're gonna start the day, and one of the things I really want to make sure you guys know that this is not going to be a typical kind of sit down, listen to people talk kind of space. We want to get you, we feel that if we want to do Indigenous tech, we have to embrace Indigenous principles of getting up and being active. So, we're going to ask all you guys to stand up and we're going to form a big circle. So I told you, don't get too married to your seats. And we're going to open the day with Kaneohe. If you know Kaneohe, jump in. If you don't, you're going to learn about it at the third round.
Aloha e o ahu. Nui a lua. I ka malu o ulu kou, ke kauhale o kaku hi hewa. Me ka maka kilo i ka piko o ka ala. A hea ke kilo a ka piko i ka uila a ka likai. Ua maali e kauai. He mai kai ka moku ka ili la na ka lima hana. O mo i keha la mai ka hiki a me mano ka manipo. O mai ani i hau. Ka ula me la, me le ua i mai nei ke kai. Au hea o e ko lau hui pupu o hokahi. E pā hola nei ka...
Pa mahana kala me ka wanoe. Huana ka oli oli o ia me awe no ne. Mai e ki pa mai e ano.
I'm the Executive Director here at Key Project. I just want to welcome all of you here. Thank you so much for coming. Our mission is to nurture and promote the social, cultural, economic, environmental, and recreational well-being of Kaneohe. So how fitting that you are here. Mahalo to Purple My Up. We appreciate you being here. I know there's a lot of deep thinkers and innovators, and I'm so excited to hear more of what you do. Aloha.
Okay, welcome everyone. we're almost done with the standing in the circle part. So my job is to tell you a little about why you're here, which is silly because I think you all know why you're here better than I do. And then again, right? The seeds come out, new tree, new bud, new blossom. And that idea of numerous, of many, of there being like a lot of things that come out of one foundation. So today, I think what we're here for is to kind of set a foundation together. And to me, that's an experiential process. We have to be in a place on the land, hopefully, if the weather allows us, we have to be together. So that's what we're doing here today, and it takes everyone's participation.
You really start to think about, try being self-sufficient in Manoa, like eating an urban center, where you can only eat things from that valley. And you can only work with people in that valley to be able to cultivate a system of sustainability. You start to realize how badass indigenous thinking is and how ultimately important it is to today's society. And I've shared this before, I'll share it again. The thing that as Native Hawaiians, we fought to reclaim our language, which is really important, but without our practice, we're just speaking Hawaiian in English. We were saying Hawaiian things with English, we're saying Hawaiian language with English thinking. The challenge to our generation is to think Hawaiian and speak English. And how do we properly talk about what our ancestors did in contemporary spaces of power? And that is what today is about. The two terms that our ancestors used, I believe, to survive in valleys is the word hana, which was work. It was your identity. Pre-contact times, the work of the ancestors made balance in your balanced ecology and made strong social structures. It didn't destroy them. And technologies didn't alienate people. Our ancestral technologies were really powerful. And then the idea of ohana wasn't 2.5 family member, 2.5 kids in a house in the suburbs where you barely know the neighbors 4 houses down. It was not only everybody in your generation.
So step forward if you were born and raised here. Thank you. You can step back. Step forward if you were reborn here. Step forward if you came with an idea to share. Step forward if you're ready to evolve your idea. There you go. Step forward if you're looking for a team or open for others to join you in this journey. Step forward if you have to fly over the ocean to be with us today. Step forward if you are the first in your ohana to attend or graduate from college. Step forward if your ohana is from this moku. Thank you. Step forward if you are a student. Step forward if you are a parent. Ohana represent. Step forward if this is your first Purple Prize Challenge. Mahalo nui. Speaker for this morning is Senator Kaneohe. He's a proud 7th-generation resident of the 48th House District, including Kaneohe, Heia, Huimanu, Pahaluku, Waikene, Paalaya, and Waiahole. Born and raised in Heia, Kaneohe, Ko'olau, he grew up under the tutelage of his grandmother, Emma Yohokalole, a pure Hawaiian elder, who was also born and raised here in Heia, and may have been the last living manaleo of this place. As a child, he reveled in his intimacy with Keahu'ola'a, one of the only black sand beaches here on the island, where he grew up fishing with his uncles. His family lineage does take him to the family of King Kalakaua, where he continues to honor that legacy as chair of the Senate Committee on Technology, and was formerly the vice chair of the House Committee on Economic Development and Business. So with that, we ask you to please warm welcome for Senator Jared Kyokalole.
When I was asked to come and speak, they said I was going to give the keynote. I was super nervous. I've never done a keynote before. So if I start to ramble, just start to like nod off so that I know there's a cue. I gotta switch up and transition to the next part of the talk. So I was basically just asked to come and explain why I think indigenous innovation is important, why I think innovation is important, why I think it's critical that we have initiatives like the Purple Prize, and why it's so important and critical that you folks are all here today. I think you guys know it, but I just want to reiterate that and hopefully pump you guys up and get this thing started on the right note. So, as she just said before, let me start with a question. How many of you folks knew there was a black sand beach on the island of Oahu? Yeah, so I can tell you there is because I grew up there. If you go through Kaneohe, in the middle of Kaneohe, you have the police station and the fire station. How many of you guys know where that is? The police station is on Waikalua Road. That's the site of the first missionary. And they used to have tires, old tires, out on the beach right below the surface. And so at low tide, you could walk out and you take a little net, you lift up the tire and you shake it, and hopai would fall out, little baby shrimp. And that's pretty much all you needed to do at low tide to catch shrimp in Kaneohe at Naonela. And so we would dry it out and put it in saimin or use it as bait. We'd go crabbing. At night we would go torching. My family, they only buy flat bottom boats because in Kaneohe Bay, you have all this shallow coral all over the place. And if you use a regular, I don't even know what it's called, a non-flat bottom boat, because we don't have non-flat bottom boats in my family, you can get your engine caught on a reef pop-up real easy if you go out at night. So we go out on the flat bottom boat with a coal stick and we would just torch, throw in. We had oysters. My grandmother, my uncles, they all raised us down there. And so that was just my life. I didn't realize how special that was to be connected to that place. If you go there now, on the other hand, I'm interested in indigenous innovation because for indigenous communities, there's no exit strategy. Ponushin told me this story about the exit strategy and how he had to tell some capitalist-minded individuals who came to Hawaii looking for tax credits to set their business up, that they weren't needed in Hawaii. We don't need people to come here to take. We need people to come here to give, because we're not leaving this place. Indigenous people aren't leaving their communities. There is no exit strategy. It's not about how much money you can make and then go away. That's why we should be a part of the process. Indigenous people shouldn't just be at the table. They should be leading the process because they have a special perspective. They have a legacy to these areas. And they have a history of being able to make it in these places before modern technology or modern society made it here. So I made a joke at an event last year about the fact that Native Hawaiians had to be innovative because this place is in the middle of nowhere and they got here without a compass or a GPS or an engine motor. They figured it out. I really think at the end of that we have the world right at our fingertips. And my kids already know how to get around my password to get to it. It's amazing. But it also leads to a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear and a lot of change that, truthfully, we're probably not ready for, right? So I read a book last year by a guy named Thomas Friedman called Thank You for Being Late. And he talks about three main factors that are contributing to the change in the world and how, because they're happening all at the same time, the change in the world is accelerating rapidly, and it's causing all of these problems, and it's causing a lot of fear and uncertainty that has had a lot of different ramifications, not only in our country and our state, but around the world. So the three things are, according to him, and I agree, are globalization, technology, and climate change. And a lot of people, like when I talk to my parents and my uncles, and they understand globalization, but they don't really understand it in terms of how it's really impacting our world. And so I tried to explain it like this. When I was a kid, my mom, and then they sold the thing to me at Ala Moana at the Apple store, right? My wife uses, she introduced me to this website called Fiverr. How many of you have heard of Fiverr? It's 5 with 2 R's, because they're cute. They wanted to spell it different. So she got some stickers done. It's like Craigslist, okay, but for graphic design. So she wanted to get some stickers done. There's like a tutorial you go through, and then you put out a listing, and then people bid on it. And so like in 4 hours, she got the sticker design made, and then she just went to the print shop and had it done. And it was like $5, and it was designed by a guy in Pakistan, right? And so my first thought was, that is amazing. It only took like, it was really fast, it was really chill. I was like, that is amazing. That's so convenient. And then my next thought was kind of, I kind of had a shudder. I thought, oh, what about all the local graphic design guys who don't have sticker work anymore? Because they have to compete with people because of things like those touchscreens. It's crazy, isn't it? If you think about it. What are all those folks gonna do? Right? What are our cashiers gonna do? Nowadays, I don't know about this one, but I went to the Moanalua McDonald's. That's right, I went to McDonald's, everyone. There was just one cashier, and it was the one taking the cash from the baby boomers who are stubborn and still want to use cash, right? There were 3 touchscreens. Everybody ordered from that, and all the workers were just assembling food and handing it out, right? So there's risk and reward to technology. What are you going to do about the cashiers and the truck drivers once autonomous vehicles become a thing? Because we all know that's coming. What are those folks going to do? It doesn't mean necessarily that we're eliminating jobs. It means we have to be more adaptive to the needs of the world. Because while we're losing cashiers, somebody's got to maintain those touch screens, right? And I have no idea how to do that. Somebody's got to figure out how to reset the thing and do regular maintenance and fix it if it gets broken. And who would rather have that job over the cashier job? How many of you would figure something out? So the fact that so anyway, what Thomas Friedman says is the fact that those 3 things are hitting us right now at the same time, it's creating so much disruptive change that it's scaring people. That's why we have some of this crazy stuff going on in DC and around the world, because people are afraid because the world is changing faster than they're comfortable with. Everyone's used to change, it's inevitable, but it's happening so fast, we don't know how to deal with it, okay? And so the reason why I'm here, and I hope the reason why you folks are here, and the reason why I want to encourage all of you guys to do your best and win this thing, so that we have tons of awesome ideas to help solve these problems, is because our communities need to be a part of this. We should be leading this. Like I said, no one is coming to save us. We gotta do it ourselves. And we can do it because we've done it before. That's why we're here. Not only Native Hawaiians, the folks who came over to work in the sugarcane plantations were amazingly courageous people who worked their butts off for their families. And that's why we have the standard of living in the world and the Hawaii that we have today, which I tell you, even though we got plenty of problems, I still believe that we live in the best place in the world. In the most amazing ability as well. The fact that you guys are here means that you're here to do good, right? And I want everyone to remember that and to embrace that, because at the end of the day, it's about helping people, helping communities, and taking the initiative. Because like I said before, you know, if I don't work to preserve Naonela for my kids, then who will? And if you folks don't do this work, then who will?
We have to understand how we embrace ideas if we're rooted in place and we're rooted in our ancestry and from communities like, I really appreciate you sharing have no exit strategy. That we're gonna have to hold around here. We have to understand these terms on our terms. So to that end, the panels that we're going to have will help us with a bit of deconstruction so that we can do the eventual reconstruction My dad always told me, before I let you drive the car, you gotta take the car apart. Because driving the car isn't knowing the car. You don't have to pick my ass up someplace. Before we can do indigenous innovation, we have to deconstruct it so that we can reconstruct it into something meaningful and something ours. Yeah. So we're going to have a panel. We're going to invite up for the next group some people that we really feel. Kiana Frank. Hello. Yeah, she's so good. She gets mentioned twice. It's like bye. We have Olin Lagan, one of the co-founders of Purple, but also one of the really first indigenous tech entrepreneurs in Hawaii. As we say in Waianae, where I'm from, the technical term for Olin is on how. Whoa, action. But he's actually been doing a lot of things in Hawaii. As you know, for me, he was a thought leader that originally inspired me to really start thinking more about how do we merge indigenous practices and thinking as the basis of creating new technologies. And finally, that will be moderated by our fearless leader at Purple Male, Donovan Kiola. And what?
You know, we can point around at this idea of indigenous innovation. It could mean a lot of different things. I think we take for granted those two words together. Those two words, when we put it together, it becomes this sort of this thing, right? So I think in a room full of people that are doers and makers, like myself, right? We often kind of just jump into things and start cranking on stuff, but it's also important to stop and think, right? To make sure all the mana'o and the thought that we go into making stuff is solid and grounded before you actually start doing stuff. And so that's the idea with this panel. I was on a panel yesterday, and it was very formal, nice chairs, blah, 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 sit down, sit up straight, Kiana, Annie, and that's not the way I do things. I kind of more laid back, talk, story, action, right? So we're gonna do it that way. We had a scheduled planned session where we were gonna brainstorm some questions and whatnot, but that kind of went by the wayside. So we're gonna do local style. Yeah, we're gonna talk story, we're gonna ask some questions. I'm gonna just sort of dig in a little bit because, as I said, I'm trying to make sense of this thing too.
An indigenous tech company back home in New Zealand, and we make we develop cultural storytelling apps and other stuff.
Kia ora mai tātou. My name is Ian Musson. I hail from a wonderful place on the east coast of Aotearoa called Whangarā. People who have seen The Whale Rider, you've seen my homeland of Whangarā. This fella's a legend. He won't say it for himself because our cultures are so similar in terms of, you know, we've got amazing things to share, but we never stick our necks out because, you know, that's not who we are. So it's my job to shout his reps. I love the opportunity to be here. Something kind of interesting about me. It's my first time to Hawaii. I love it. I love the fact that I'm torn in two ways. I want to live here, but I've got responsibility back home. And it says I want to be here, but by doing so, by turning, I'm going out to something else back home. So it's kind of that torn, and we'll talk more.
Innovation is really the combining of two really crazy different things, right? So that's my definition. So you can combine something like, you know, what they do in biology with Russian language or something like that.
So I think innovation is something that's, like Olin said, is you're intertwining all these different things for the benefit of the societal well-being. And when you add the layer of innovation, indigenous innovation, we're not just talking about something that's brand new. We're talking about bringing something ancient, transforming it and restoring it into the 21st century that both moves forward our society, but also is grounded in our cultural values and beliefs.
I guess what I love about that is similar to how I started to talk about term technology. Innovation is not new, it's something we've always done.
Intentionality is really what moves something from being just innovative to being indigenously innovative, because it's that mindset, It's that core value of being, reflecting your relationships and thinking about the prosperity and the future because of everyone you're standing on the shoulders of your ancestors who came before you.
I think as Indigenous people, it's a lot easier for us to relate to a lot of concepts that we have in terms of what business will, and it's something that I take into a business concept, into a business context as well within the tech company that I own and run. So maybe kind of gone off the question there, but I really do feel that my culture, my Indigenous roots, my cultural context and cultural narrative informs me to this very day.
You said we talk about, so you said something that are values, right? You talk about your working values, and it's like it's.
You become part of our family, part of our Rwanda. It's great. That's amazing. I sometimes use words from back home that I realize after I've said them, they don't necessarily make sense here, and sometimes for me to explain them, I don't know how to.
Learning structures within westernized, formalized education systems don't necessarily match our Indigenous worldviews in the way that we engage, because you don't always have students that see the connections, right? You talk to so many kids that are surfers and excellent practitioners of their spaces, but also be able to translate that to the global world. I mean, Kamu said it perfectly. They need to be able to think Hawaiian, but speak English, because we are living in a global world. We're not isolated on an island.
I mean, this is an ongoing conversation, right? It's kind of things that we've got to think about. You've got to think about, some ongoing conversation. And the next panel will be sort of putting it all back together and expressing it, or how do we sort of take these things into sort of a modern context, or envision sort of a new economy or a new way of doing things. So, mahalo. I want to give mahalo.
As Pacific Island communities, we still live within the area and the land where Ohana is from. We have this amazing opportunity to really dive in and access this deep knowledge of profound relationship with our land and our community and spirit. And I think many of the leadership qualities and tenets that we consider innovative and transformative are very much rooted within our Indigenous community. So collaborative models like co-creation, appreciative inquiry, or mindfulness, these are tools of social innovation and transformation.
The first panel that we just sat through, right, was about Indigenous innovation. What is that? Kind of deep dive into breaking that down. But the second panel is acknowledging that innovation always takes place in a context. And that context includes political, economic, social, and historical factors. So what do I mean by all those words? I like to borrow Douglas Rushkoff's phrase, because I think it's something that tech people, it fits in our minds really well, to say that there is an operating system. That an easy example is to think about social media. I mean, originally something like Facebook was free. It was a fun way of connecting with other college students. Nothing too scary about that. But the business model that Facebook has, grown to embrace is kind of one that extracts our personal data and uses that to make money. And there's kind of these changes that we've seen, right, that are affecting technology as far as what's coming out of Silicon Valley. At the same time, we're all tied into the current operating system, right? And I think in Hawaii, we talk about it in terms of the economy. We're all trying to figure out how to, in some ways, support the local economy, because that's what we're all dependent on, right? And I think in this context that make us less dependent on the extractive operating system. So can we be innovators in this way too, not just building tech, but growing a tech sector that also shifts the way that business is done, so that we're a model of what a fair, sustainable local technology sector that supports community thriving might actually look like.
You have this kind of capitalist society. I call them capitalists, I call them Americanized
call them westernized, even though they're all the way to the east. I think it's kind of weird. But you know, like we all kind of have this imposed economics on us, and it's kind of just how the way that they work. You know, you can be an individual, you stay in your own house, you can make your own money, and you can succeed independently. You know, and that's kind of the American dream, right? You can be anybody that wants to start anywhere, and you know, you can build yourself, you know, through your own. Just pushed by the wayside all the people that cannot exist in this system. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that they're lazy or, you know, whatever, all these negative connotations people like to put on people that haven't made it in the system that we have. You know, it just means that the system that is in place, they don't mesh well. So, you know, we kind of went about trying to figure out ways to help those people, you know, because for me, that's not okay. So, you know, we kind of started about 3 years ago on street light. Started trying to figure out what can we do to, you know, kind of catch all these other people. We figure out one system where people will be okay and be able to thrive with the money they have. You know, so it's like we kind of went at it from the other end and said, how can we lower the cost of living enough so that the money that people have is enough, you know? So, you know, kind of took on, you know, culturally Hawaiians, we live in this Kaneohe system, right? You know, you had your halikuki, everybody go over there and go, right? You had your sleeping houses, you had, you know, your halawa. To do that, and that's what you want to do, then fine. There's 1,000 places outside there, and 1,000 programs, you know, that can do that. But you know, we're trying to catch the ones that not really doing it. And you know, if you look at the village, the way it operates now, it's kind of like lived experience. That's what they're doing now. You know, except I mean, take it. The bathroom is outside in the, you know, in the park, you know, and the communal kitchen is kind of Twinkle's kitchen. But you know, we basically took the kitchen, took a lot of work in, and you know, expanded it. Put a gathering area where people get together, expanded it, and then took the bathroom from the park and put them in the middle of the village. And that's pretty much, you know, what we came up with. I don't know if anybody's seen all the slides and stuff that we, you know, kind of go around. Find out, you know, after giving up a little bit of what he wanted, a little bit of what he wanted, we come up to this solution. But it don't have to be, you know, you just gotta. If you continue to look for this option where you get what this one wanted and what this one wanted, but something more on top of that, right? So like an example of, you know, something that I think, well, I don't want money to do, but you know, one example would be like, you know, you get how many? That's what state you make it tonight. You know what I mean? You can centralize stuff. You know, put your Kaneohe school inside. You know, you teach everybody that live there, and people will live there. Teach everybody that live there on their own way. You know, so now when the tourists come, they hear the language, they eat the food, they see, because this is Hawaiian people, and they already want to do it. They want to live like that, right? They just don't have the resources to do it.
We have to acknowledge and say what the problems are of the dominant system and say that's not what we want, those are not the outcomes that we want, and this is what we want. Now for this, I don't know what that is yet. I think that's what we're working collectively towards. We have to be able to at least ground ourselves in the intentionality, right? Ground ourselves in what is the purpose, what are we doing, what is this all for, what does it mean? Like the conversation that happened earlier on the panel before, like, yes, all of that. If that conversation was like resonating with you and you're like, yes, this, I get it, yeah. Like that is what we need, that's the intentionality, that all the work that we're gonna collectively do going forward has to be grounded in. And once we're in agreement on that, and we have a community Because, you know, the beautiful thing, like this guy's like one of my heroes, right? Like he volunteers like all his time to go and help this community and wants absolutely nothing for it. Like these are the kinds of people that we need to uplift in our society. Not the guys who have the degrees, not the guys who have the huge bank accounts, not any of that. It's this, right here.
Engagement at the state level, engagement at the community relationship level, and also like the structures that allow us to do that, like the Kaneohe model, the things that facilitate, you know, and working in that win-win way to set that up, to like carve out that space to have that happen. I think those are important ways that we can shift the operating system.